Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new series. This is Foundation. It is an organic medieval city building game, and we're going to dive into it here together. Let's go ahead and click New Game, and you get a couple of options, Coastal and Hills. I've tried both. I think we're going to go with Coastal. It's more interesting, maybe a little bit more difficult, and let's go ahead and start the game. So in this first episode, I'm going to walk you through. I've played this beginning of the game a few times now. I did click Start Game. You get a little kind of walkthrough of how some of the things work, but those are the things I'm going to explain as we play. The first important choice you have is plot selection. You get to choose one of several locations throughout the world, and all of the starting locations are going to have two main resources. First are these stones and berry bushes, and I think every single option you have when it comes to starting the game, and there are quite a few spread throughout this world. I haven't fully explored the area, but it is a big world. So eventually you can expand into a massive organic city. Now, when I say organic, what does that mean? It means you don't get to choose where everything gets built. You can lay out plots of, you can sort of zone areas for residential and things like that, but then your villagers decide where to put their own houses. So there are a couple of easy choices. The first time I played here, I chose this one. And then most recently, I think it's a little bit more difficult, but I like the idea of having my city start out here on this high peak on the edge of the water. So I think we're going to begin right here. Now, after you do that, you get the quest, build a village center. That's easy. So up at this top right up here is a bar of buildings. Or a bar of things. Paint development zones, build walls, buy territory, and we are going to start with a village center, and that goes right. Well, it can go anywhere, but I like to put it right in the middle of the town. And one of the first things you need is a well. I think I'm going to try centering that right on top of this as well. Now, you can hold control and rotate these things. Let's go ahead and do that. So now I've put down a thing for that to get built. Before that can happen, I got to click on this villager list, the little people heads in the bottom left, and I got to put some people to work. So we have a few options for jobs right out of the start, but builder is the only one that anyone is going to be able to do. And then we're going to work on building the first other things that we need. So you see a few resources here at the top: wood, tools, and berries. We are going to need a steady supply of berries, because if you look at these villagers, the two things they need to upgrade to the next level, which would be a serf, are berries and water. So the well is started. We're going to go ahead and get them working on berries with the gathering hut. So I'm going to rotate and control, and I like to put this right in front of the berry bush. I'm sure there are more optimal places to put it. If you put it further away, I think they'll go there. But we're going to be building an epic city over a course of several episodes here, guys. You guys may know me as a builder from my main channel, Unite the Clans, doing stuff in Ark. I love the concept of city building games. They've never really taken off on my channel. So we're going to get started with Foundation. And what I'm thinking is we build our city center here. We eventually expand down into this area. This flatlands might be perfect for farming. We'll have some forestry and stuff up in the hills. We'll have to have an area for blacksmithing. Now, I didn't mention that when you're choosing your plot, there's these desirability layers, the third icon down. If you choose fertility, it's pretty much anywhere there aren't trees. If you choose residential, it's pretty much near a well, nowhere at the beginning. And then there's iron ore. So iron ore, that probably made me sound very Canadian. There's only a couple of these throughout. So we're actually starting closer than I would like. Our second plot is probably going to have the iron ore in it, and we won't really need that till like our fourth plot of land. So maybe we'll go down and build this. Your people do not care where the edge of your town is. They will go outside the border. So if I buy this one and tell them to chop these trees, they'll walk all the way down here, even if I don't own these plots. So let's go ahead and start making use of the stuff we've built. And let's get these desirability layers off the screen. One thing I love about this game, guys, is the zoom capability. When I played Frostpunk, I was like, God, I wish I could zoom in more. With this game, you have no such qualms. We're going to go ahead and put 3 of our people to work on Forager. And I think that means we will see some people come. Their outfits will change. Yeah, they put on these little hats, put the baskets on their back, and they go to work in this berry hut. There is no extraction zone, which means we need to go to paint development zones for the first time and go extraction and put a little blue blob here. We're going to have to do that everywhere we want to gather resources, so I'm going to do it on top of the stone as well, and I'm going to do it on top of all of these trees in this little corner of the map. This will be the first area where we clear trees out of, like so. Okay, cool. So from here, lumber, I think, is the next plan. So let's go ahead and get those off the screen. Let's get Barbara off the screen. And we have people we have to put to work. I got 4 builders and 1 unemployed person, so we are going to go with lumber camp. Now, knowing that our village is going to be expanding this way, this is one of those things, guys, that makes housing undesirable if it's nearby. So you don't want to put it right in the center of your city. And so your instinct might be put it out in one of the corners, but there's nowhere to expand out this way. Like, we're going to have to expand this way. So I think what I'll do is tuck it maybe in this corner. And that will make gathering resources, wood and stuff from this next region quite easy. So our builders will go to work doing that. I'm going to go ahead and start a couple of people. You know what? While we got it, let's make everybody a builder. And let's go ahead and put somebody on stonecutter camp. And we have stone right here, so we want to be close, but we also want to stay out of the way of city development. So let's find an area that is right on the edge. Now, a woodcutter camp can employ 3 people. A gathering hut can employ 3 people, and a stonecutter camp can employ 5. So we already don't have enough people to fully man all these stations, which means we should probably stop building pretty soon here. But we've got Maria. We've got these newcomer needs. Water, unfilled. Well, somebody has to build the well still, so somebody's probably in the process of that. I think we see one here. Wildebald is mid-well building, so that'll open up water for people. For berries, you don't just have to have the gathering hut. You got to figure out berry market. Now, I'm going to leave this center area around my well for market stalls. I think that is my plan, and then we'll have our first row of housing in a sort of a donut shape around this. So lumber camp completed, which means we can put a couple of people to work. Woodcutter, and I think we'll do 2 woodcutters. We'll do 2 stonecutters as soon as, well, I think if we do them now, they still work on building. So let's go ahead and do stonecutter, and then we will have 1, whoops. We'll have 1 here. 1 market stall attendant, whatever you call it. Whoops. Hold on. Stonecutter and still building, so we're going to go market tender. So this is how we're looking at the moment, guys. We got 3 people gathering. We now have a lumber camp set up out here, and the first spot I have put for them to remove trees is in this corner. Eventually, we're going to probably have to harvest every tree in this zone before we get to a point where we can get rolling with trade, which is going to happen in this first episode. Yeah, and so now our plan is immigration. We need more people. I mentioned we don't have enough people to sort of man everything. So what does that mean? Check up here, 54 days. So because our people are so unhappy, they're so grumpy, right now we don't have an incoming wave of people. Our city is not good. So to get it good, we need to make our people happy. We need to have a finished well, and you know what? I think because the well has not been finished, I might need a builder. Okay, let's go ahead and put you, Edward, on building. And we'll go ahead and click on this well, and we can click prioritize. Oh, and it's stone that we need. Okay, so our stone cutter should be going to work. Okay, so the stone cutter camp being built. Very detailed. Looks really good. You can zoom in so far, it gets too blurry. But you zoom out a little bit, you can click on these little people, click follow, and then we'll follow around Florence as she builds the stonecutter camp. One thing I like about the game, guys, Q and E rotate things. You also have F and R, so you can kind of look at things from above and zoom out with your mouse wheel. So stonecutter camp is done. 2 people will go to work cutting stone, and that is what the well needs to be complete, which was holding us back. So you got to get that stonecutter camp going before the well, I suppose. But the well, along with this berry hut, will start allowing our people to upgrade, and they will become serfs, which is kind of the second tier. You go from newcomer to serf to, I think, commoner. And every time you do, you go from not needing a house to needing a house. That's part of the next tier of needs. And then at that next tier, the houses start getting upgraded after they become commoners. Serfs need houses, commoners need nicer houses, and then there's levels beyond that. As you can see, the buildings tab that I have down here, at the next stage of this thing, and probably in our next episode, we're going to get into the sheep farm, the weaver hut, and the clothes market, which will start filling needs and allow them to go from serfs to commoners. But before we do that, we need to open up trade, and we need to start getting some people coming to our town. 17 days. So we're raising the happiness slowly and steadily with berries, but we have to get this well finished. I'm going to go ahead and speed up time a little bit here, guys. Aha, and our well is done. I think we're about to see, yes, a wave of villagers upgrading. And there's such an annoying whistling sound that goes off in this game. I've never noticed it till now. I'm using little earbuds. I think you'll hear it. I'm hearing it too. So we now have a well. That means these people have been upgraded. And now they need 2 more things, housing and clothing. We will not be getting to those right away, the clothing especially. The housing we can actually get to, because you can see these people are kind of grumpy because only half of their 4 categories are filled. So let's go ahead and plan out some housing zones for them. And you'll see how this works and how this is organic. So I want to make an area that will be big enough for market stalls, and I think for a warehouse in the center of our town. It looks like that sort of desirable area is big enough. So we're going to take this and we're going to paint around. And a house is sort of bigger than the width of a paintbrush, so I think we'll have to go around twice around our circle or so. And let me just fill in some areas here. And oh lord, it's really difficult to if you're a perfectionist, this can get challenging. Okay, so the first house has gone in. You see those little stilts. Each house holds 2 people, so we're going to need room for about 4 houses. Let's keep expanding this until we see more house plots pop up. Okay, something like that. So our first house is underway. Let's undo this. We should have plenty of room for all the people we have, and we're now only 3 days away from our first influx. Our global happiness is way up. We've got a couple of grumpy Gusses. Maria needs water. That's her fault. We got a nice looking well. And Wildebald, who needs a house. Okay, so Maria hasn't even upgraded yet, but she will here shortly. So if we zoom in, you can see the first house being constructed. Edward building a house. There's that whistle. And so once he has that, he'll have 3 of his 4 needs. He'll be generally very happy, and we'll worry about clothing in episode 2. The thing we need to worry about next, and with our next batch of villagers, is trade. So if you guys have a look up here in this top right, there's trade. We have 2 cities we can open trade with, and the one that is very important is the top one, Davenport, because one of the resources we have is tools. Those are required to build things like the stonecutter camp, the woodcutter camp, and a lot of the more advanced buildings, and the Lord's Manor and things like that. So, for us today, we need to get a way to properly import tools, and that means we need to give them something back. Berries, stone, and planks. I think planks are the best thing. We need 20 to open the trade route, which means we might as well get ourselves rolling on a sawmill. Now, because I put the woodcutter camp out this way, and because we're eventually going to be expanding out this way, I think we will put... Man, we haven't had a single immigrant come to the town, so I think I'd like to see where the path is that immigrants come in. I imagine it's going to be down this center line here of cleared trees. So maybe we'll put our sawmill right out here on the edge of town, and I'll tuck it as close to the border as you can. You kind of just have to have the center of the building inside. Okay, so there you go. Sawmill's underway. We still have a villager. We have 2 foragers, 2 stone cutters, and 2 wood cutters, and we're waiting on our first immigrants. We are 1 day away, and then they're going to take a little time before they get here. 1 house is done. So Florence and Otto are living here. That looks adorable. I really like this. So the houses continue to upgrade, and the people decide where they want to live, which is great. You can't really force them to live somewhere if it's not going to be a good spot to live. Let's go ahead and speed up time a little bit, and we'll hurry up and get our next batch of humans here in town. Aha! 2 new villagers are joining your village. So we can click here, I think, and it shows us where they come in from. So this is important to note. They don't show up in your villager list till they reach the sort of town center. But we can see them coming in. Oh, yeah. All right. And let's go R. I'm going to look at them from above. And they're quite a good bit of a ways away. Now, one of the cool things about this game, guys, is you don't make the roads either. The roads are something that develop organically. And you can see as you look behind these guys, well, there's a dang path. They're carving a path as they come through town. And our villagers which we will see up in the distance over here, have carved their own paths already. And because there's so many of them, they're going over them so often, they're well worn. So you've got these basic starter paths, one out to the lumber camp, one out to the berry hut, and the stone camp. And eventually, with this new sawmill going in place over here on the edge of town, we still have a builder, right? Yeah, Edward should be doing some work on that. Yes, going to fetch some resources. Good stuff, Edward. We'll have a new path that forms there, and eventually with immigration, we'll have a well-worn path in and out of town. So he needs wood logs to get started. There's a decent supply of those. He also needs stone. We have a very good supply of those. So I'm going to make sure we have plenty of room for our lumberjacks to harvest wood. They're slowly working out this zone here. Let's go ahead and set them up to clear out this zone as well. Villagers don't seem to mind as much living near the pine forests, but these sort of old growth oak forests, they don't like those as much. So if we were to click on desirability tab and go residential, you'll see this forest not as bad. This forest, well, you know what? It's hard to say. I might be misreading that. But anyway, they don't like living right next to forests. That's one thing that's obvious. They like living near paths. They love living near wells and shops. And that's kind of why we've designed things the way we have so far. We'll have room for more market stalls. And I think there's 3 at this stage of the game. I don't know what we can see yet. Let's go ahead and turn that off. And turn this off. Perfect. So if we go in buildings, yeah, we have a bunch of unknown buildings. The one we're going to get to by the end of today's episode is the Lord Manor. That requires 12 serfs. We are now going to have 10 humans, and a couple of them are unemployed. So we'll make a couple of them builders, and I think that means we can go back to having an additional, let's do an additional woodcutter and an additional forager, and we'll just have 1 builder for now. So we'll have 3 people gathering berries, which is good because that's something we can use for trade. We'll have 1 builder, 1 market tender, a couple of people gathering stone, and it really depends. I guess at this stage they're busy building their houses and they're not so preoccupied with my sawmill, but this sawmill is going to open up trade for us. It's going to allow us to start making money, which I would love. You can see we've got 318 of our original 500. Can't make money till you get trade going, so that's a key priority at this early stage of the game. So we want to open up trade with Davenport. We want to start buying tools, only as many as we need, and then selling whatever we have in sort of plentiful amounts. So at first we'll do some berries and some stone. As soon as we have the money, before we build the Lord's Manor, I want to buy the next chunk of land, either this one or we'll buy this one down here, and we'll give our lumberjacks a lot more stuff to chop down. And we'll turn the lumber into planks and we'll sell the planks off to them. I think that's probably the best way to go because lumber is a really plentiful resource. Now, stone is too, so we could go that path and build a second stone camp as we get more immigrants, because you can put 5 at each. We're really underutilizing the potential of this stone cutter camp. So we could certainly put more people there. But I think at first we'll trade away berries. That's the easiest thing to gather. Our people need them anyway. And here we go. I said we have 10 people. 2 people to a house, Maria and Barbara, Henry and Willibald, Florence and Otto, and Stephen and Edward. Lots of same-sex couplings in here. This is very progressive. It's not a husband-wife pair-up that they do when they're choosing houses. All the people in your town are young, right? 18, 19, 20. So you'd think they'd be getting it on, for sure. 18, 21, 22, elder statesman, 23, and 19, yeah. So 2 new villagers are joining your village, and now it's every 9 days. So we're at a population of 10, a couple more to come, building houses. And how are we doing on this sawmill? Just about there. Perfect. Martin is finishing the job. So once that's done, we're going to need to set up a new, what would you call it? A new skill. So we're going to take a forager, turn him into a carpenter, and turn our builder also into a carpenter. And then once we get our new people to town, I always turn the new people to builders just because that way they can help constructing other people's houses or work on whatever buildings. Whoops. Learn to use your camera, idiot. Or learn to do whatever buildings you have halfway done around town. But this is pretty nice. Nice little ring of houses. Now, It would be nice if they all kind of faced the same way and you could have a nice sort of campfire style circle around here. But this guy chose to build his house there. Maybe he works at the berry farm and went like, well, I'll have my door face out there. That's convenient for me. And you can always check the happiness. So it looks like Barbara might not have a house yet. Oh, she's grumpy even though she's got everything but clothing. Same with Edward. So clothing, I think, guys, is a multi-step process. You do sheep farms, and then you do weavers' huts, and then you do a clothing stall, just like the berry stall, for selling that stuff. So I think we got to keep that till the next episode. And like I said, this episode, expand, build a Lord Manor, open trade. And to open trade, we're actually going to need a warehouse. Now the warehouse has this sort of square section where the crane hangs over. That ends up being a path where people walk a lot. So I have in the past put that right in my village center, and we'll see how we can make that look without kind of disrupting the feel of our town. Yeah, if we were to do something like this, that makes an already well-trodden area even more well-trodden. And we're going to have to employ a couple people to work there, and we have to do some sort of settings, what the warehouse is willing to accept before we're able to actually do trade. This took me a little while to figure out. So getting trade going can be a bit of a challenge. All right. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. I'll come back to you guys when I get a warehouse, when I get a surplus of planks, and when we're ready to open up trade with Davenport. Aha. Okay, guys, our warehouse is done. Let's go ahead and slow down to real time. Now we have our 13th and 14th people about to join town, which means we'll have some new professions. When we get here, we're going to put somebody to the role of transporter. That means you work at the warehouse. You're able to move things in, and if you don't click accept on all these, then even if you get trade going, you're going to have a problem. I had this going. I hadn't figured out how to do this and click accept on tools, so I had a guy coming to town buying stuff, and he was coming to town, not buying anything, not selling anything. So to open the trade route, we needed 20 planks. We're well under our way with that now. In fact, I'm going to turn a carpenter into a transporter until our newbies arrive. And we can go ahead and click over here and trade, and we'll go open the trade route to Davenport. Fantastic. Now that's not all you have to do. You have to click on the next tab, Trading Resources, and go, what am I willing to sell and for how much? Well, they're willing to buy anything for, everything they buy is for 2 gold. So berries, stone, and planks. So we want to sell that stuff. Let's start bringing some money in. Let's get ourselves up to a 500 on the cash total, and then we'll worry about buying some new tools, which we will need for... We'll need that for the Lord's Manor, as well as a lot of stone. So at this point, I might go ahead and get us rolling on stone. You know what? Maybe we won't sell stone. Let's sell berries. Sell above the value of 1. Let's sell planks. Sell above the value of 1. And for the next stage, we will need to buy tools to get into the weaver's hut and the sheep farm and things like that. Do we have access to those now? We do. So the sheep farm. 10 tools. We'll need 2 of those, so that's 20. The weaver's hut, another 10 tools, so that's 30. And then the clothes market shouldn't require any. Okay, cool. So for those, we're going to need 30. We've only got 10. We're going to have to eventually buy 20 at 10 gold apiece. So let's get the gold flowing in. Let's build that Lord's Manor, and let's finish this episode with a bang. One thing I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to go hard on the stone cutting. I remember the Lord Manor being fairly stone intensive. We're going to convert every single wood cutter into a stone cutter. And then we are going to make a couple of wood cutters down here. And wood cutter, a transporter, and a builder. So that's my labor division as it stands now. We got 5 stone cutters, 3 foragers, 2 wood cutters, 1 carpenter, 1 transporter, a market tender, and a builder. So you can kind of zoom in on these buildings, guys. They're fantastic. You hear the sound of the saws, kind of get this cool depth of field blur thing going on. You can follow individual villagers around town. You can see our market square coming together. I like having this right in the center of town. I think it works well for us. You end up getting kind of crisscrossy paths wherever you put this warehouse. So I like just doing it right on top of the village center, which is right on top of the well. And that's where we build our market stalls. And this is a good village center. It's going to be convenient for everybody. And a Lord's Manor is sort of the best part of the Lord's Manor is it first thing you do is it increases your treasury. You can have more than 500 gold, which is exactly what the next plot of land is going to cost. Although I have noticed it being free in the past. Free! Okay, so we're not going to need to spend 500 gold to get our next plot of land. Interesting. I don't know exactly when that happens, guys, because you don't have this option right off the start. So this is the area where we're going to be centering down the road our... gosh, it's such a tough call. I think what I would like to do is buy this one. It's not directly connected, so our people are going to have to walk all the way around, but we're just going to start clearing out the lumber from here. That'll give us lots of planks for trade, and then we'll go ahead and buy a next tier. Does that make sense? So here's the thing. Here was my holdup, is I don't want to end up buying this area, needing to put our farming there, and having that get in the way of the iron ore, which, as I remind you, if we go here, it's the only iron ore for miles and miles. So this is going to be where our iron mining, smelting, and blacksmithing is all centered. Eventually, I think when we get to wheat farming, that makes sense to do it down here. Maybe we can do the sheep farming up in the hills over here. So here, why don't we do this? We're close to 500. I'm going to buy this region. I'll start getting my people to clear out the forestry through here, and then we'll move over here next episode. We'll spend 500 for the sheep's manor. We may do that this episode for the sheep's manor, for a sheep farming area. So we just got that area for free. Our bank account is still in good shape. We're selling and not buying. So when traders come to town, we'll be in good shape. And we'll just simply simply grab the paintbrush, and we'll mark all of this for extraction. I'm actually not going to mark all of it, guys. I like this little pine forest here, and I like this sort of old growth around the edge of the map. So what we're going to do, we're going to take out this bit here. We're going to leave this cluster along the side of the road. We're going to trim out by the road, and we're going to trim out the old oaks that occupy this area. And then eventually we can replant in this new area. We can replant some pine trees. So let's do this. We'll go right up to the edge of the pines. We'll clear out this, and we'll leave a nice cluster of old growth here, as this will end up being like a resource area. We'll have blacksmithing and all kinds of things like that, but that'll be down the road. For now, this is just for resources. I'm going to wait till we hit 500. I'll fast forward things. I'll use that 500 to buy our next tier, and then we'll move on to the Lord's Manor. So I'll fast forward a bit. I'll cut away from you guys. I will be back. Alright guys, I gotta move quick as it will go down, but we've got our 500. This will eventually be our sheep farming area. I think down here we'll have more housing, and we'll use this for resource collection, and eventually down here wheat farms for miles. So we've just gone ahead and expanded out here. I wanted to do that before building the Lord's Manor, because it requires a lot of tools, and once you start buying tools, it can get really, really expensive for you. So we are going to go... click off of this. No, off of this. Perfect. So we have housing for everybody. We currently have 16 people. That's the 8th house going in. We're in good shape there. I have some unemployed folks, so we're going to need to put them to work, and I think the time has come to plan out our Lord's Manor. Before we do, let's go to the trade, and we are going to make sure that we always have... how many we have now? Well, we always have 15 tools. So if you click... You can't read that, but buy until the inventory reaches a value of 15, sell above a value of 1. So we will do that. I haven't figured out exactly how trading works, if that value is equal to this, the gold, or the amount that you have in storage. So I could say sell above the value of 140, and we'd always keep 140 berries. I haven't really figured that out yet. But the Lord's Manor is the first kind of custom building you can do. We've got a sawmill. It's got its own kind of distinct look to it. We've got the warehouse, the berry hut, same thing. And then we've got the houses, which the people have put together. Simple thatch roofs. But for us, when we build our Lord's Manor, that's on us. We kind of get to decide how this thing looks. And that's why I figured it would make a good stopping point for our first episode. What I recommend is have a treasury as part of the beginning. That's 5 tools. The core is another 5 tools. You have things like the chimney, the door, and you can really come back to it and expand it down the road. But at this early stage, what we want to do is start with a core. And I'm going to spin the camera around so we can build right on the edge of this cliff, right on the precipice. We'll do that, and I'm just going to spin my camera up and over. Yeah. Okay. So let's do that. And now this is important, guys. We'll bring the camera down. You can raise the height of this. And as you do, does it show villager capacity 5? No, it doesn't do anything except increase maintenance cost and expenses. But if you want to build cool looking buildings, the church and the Lord Manor are the way to do it. So we're going to raise that up. We're also going to go with a chimney. So that will snap at one of these points along the top of the house. We'll go to the one towards the back. There. And I can't raise and lower that. I would like to be able to. And then we are going to go with the treasury. So the treasury is a round tower. Now, the first thing I like to do is boom, boom, boom. And the higher you build this, the more it's going to be able to hold. And you can kind of snap it into... Oh, I thought I did. Like that. No. Like that. You can snap it right into the old stone building. And now the one important thing you see right at the top has a door, yes. I haven't added a door. So I'm not sure why it says has a door, yes. We're going to put a door on it. And you have to spin this to that black side. That's the out-facing side to get it to snap where you want it to. And maybe we'll put our door... Huh. It's not perfectly centered. Maybe we'll put a door on the side here. I'm a geek for symmetry. Okay. And then at this point, you click construction. It's going to need 79 stone, so I'm going to stop trading that. It's going to need 29 planks and 21 tools. So we only have 14 in stock. We'll use our first batch, and then we will begin trading it. So I'm going to hit the trade market. I'm going to stop trading stone, which I decided to do after I cut away from you guys. We'll keep trading berries because we got lots of those. How many planks were required? 29? I think we will keep selling them. And in a moment I'll expand and maybe add. We have 5 people who don't have jobs. So I think what maybe makes sense is to add a new woodcutter camp. We've got this one here, which eventually will be in the way of our expanding village. They don't like being close to that. So we're going to go ahead and do a new lumber camp, and we'll do it maybe out here between these 2 new regions we have expanded into. We've already marked this one for clearing, and now I'm going to mark this one over here for clearing as well. And we'll just clear everything out. And this, eventually, I said, will be the sheep farming area. And we'll do that next episode. We'll get into clothing. We'll get into all kinds of farming next episode. We'll get the wheat farm going. Everything. And eventually, like I said, we're going to build a beautiful city. It's going to be stunning. The church building is like the Lord Manor, but with more cool building pieces and some different sort of stylistic choices. You can make the church look like it belongs in a different part of the world. Choose the color of the roof, whether it's made of stone or a sort of plastery looking material. And how are we doing population wise? 18. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 houses. So we're golden on that front. All right, guys, I'm going to kill a little bit of time until this Lord's Manor is ready, until it is built. We will show this off and we will call it an episode. Oh, baby, this thing is starting to come together. Still got to build that treasury, but the chimney is done, the door is done, and the main structure is done. We need 10 more tools, and we don't have any, so we're counting on a trader coming into town. I figured I would see if I could show you guys that, show you where the traders come and go. We know this is our immigrant path. Is that the same path the traders take? No, I see a new path over here. So where is the trader? They come into town from Davenport, so our people must not be coming from Davenport. Let's see if we can find... There he is! Okay, I'm going to hit pause. And we'll check in on this little fella. Okay? Wants to buy berries, so he did. He also wanted to buy stone and planks. I think he did, or is that the money he started with? Wants to sell tools. If he did, we've already used them. He can also sell bread and marble. Bread is something we're going to get going next episode, but there you go. That's how I'm getting the tools going. I opened the trade with Davenport. I hit trading resources. I went buy until inventory reaches value, and then I set up my warehouse to accept it. So that's kind of the key to trade. Let's go ahead and resume. I'll come back to you guys. Lord Manor coming together as soon as it's done. We're going to call this an episode. The process of watching them build these things is very cool. I like it a lot, seeing them scaffold up. They add bit by bit. You can see right now we need a little bit more stone, and our people... This is kind of why I mentioned my path is, before I get working on the Lord's Manor, get a lot of stone cutters going, and I have max 5 out of 5 on this. Oh yeah, this is where you click, and so they're producing, and then your warehouse accepts everything. Perfect. Yeah, you want to have your warehouse ready so you can do trade and bring in tools, because you can see we've needed 10 tools just for this, and that is quite a lot, considering this building doesn't produce anything for us. It's only going to cost money and house a few villagers, but coming together. A little bit more stone, 2 more planks, and we are done. We've got the planks, got a solid supply right here, and in the warehouse. Yes, lots in the warehouse. Beautiful. So this building's about to be done, guys. But it's cool watching them build it. Now, this first Lord's Manor design that I've kind of chosen looks a bit like a small church with this tower, but that's because I've played around with a few. I have found that this treasury tower is the most important. And as soon as you start bringing in tools and things, it's really hard to keep your money up in the early stages. So that's why I went ahead and expanded our empire and got that free plot and spent the 500 on this additional plot before I started buying tools and putting the expense in of bringing this Lord's Manor to life, which it just about is. This is where I live. This is my home. And that's the layout of the town. How good is that? I love that you can do this with the cameras. Cha-ching! Lord's Manor complete. All right, that is great, guys. Now, I do want to show you this before we go. You're not stuck here. You can click Edit. You can go Extension, and you can add to the front of this building. You can twist and turn things, expand out. You can add a second treasury tower. Ooh, how do you do that? Like so, and snap it anywhere on the process. Go like this, build taller, so you can start to create some very cool structures. So we're going to do that as we go down the road, but for now, let's go ahead and get rid of that. And we're going to leave this episode here. Lord's Manor complete. Our people are working. Our population has skyrocketed to 22, and in our next episode, we are going to go ahead and get into farming. First, a sheep farm and shepherds, then the weavers' huts and weavers, and then a clothing stall to sell that clothing and start upgrading our serfs to commoners. Once that's done, we're going to get into crops. We'll build wheat farms. We'll employ them with farmers. We will build windmills, which are some of the most iconic. The icon of the game is a windmill. We'll build some of the most iconic buildings in the windmills, staff them with millers. We'll have to build a bakery and then a bread market stall. I'm very excited for it. If you enjoy, click the like button and subscribe if you haven't done that yet. And we're going to get into this even deeper, guys. This is Foundation. I am truly enjoying it, and I will hope you will join me for this city building adventure. By the end, this place is going to be fantastic. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time.